Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Katie and Siegfried Show, where we talk about the final episode of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, so now we're on to the Return of the King, which we watched, what was it, like?
A week ago.
A week ago, yeah. We originally intended to talk about it closer to when we actually watched it, just by the nature of that would be the best time to remember everything, but hey, things got a little bit busy, so here we are now.
Snow. There was a lot of snow. I blame the snow.
The snow was kind of distracting. But yeah, so let's just start off from the top. I think, again, we like to always talk about the extended scenes and stuff like that. I think the extensions, for the most part, made sense. I think there was one part that I had been, like, kind of on, but overall...
What part was that?
I don't remember. I remember like a week ago when we were talking about it, but like now that I'm not thinking about like what scenes were extended or whatever, I don't remember offhand. I will say the whole Gollum or Smeagol getting the ring kind of thing was honestly probably the most disturbing death. I think it one-ups some of the other ones that came in. I think the first film had a lot of like the most disturbing deaths because like we spent a lot of time with like, or like they're very brutal, like Boromir's death, for instance. But at least Boromir's going down fighting, whereas like Smeagol is just straight up murdering this guy over the ring, and it's very brutal and it's very dark and it's very like, But like on the other hand, like they both were very much corrupted by the ring pretty much immediately. Speaking of, actually, I now remember who my favorite character will be from this movie.
Sounds good.
It just came back to me.
Okay.
I think that was like probably the most like visceral like murder scene.
Yeah.
Because like most of the other scenes are like someone's dying, like it's tragic or like dark, but like even in like the first one, like a lot of the death scenes, like when the ring rays come, like they're very quick. They cut a dude's head off. We cut before we even see it happen. The gates to Bree get knocked down, and the dude gets crushed, but we don't really see like what actually happens to his body. Like we just know that he's dead, right?
Yeah. Whereas
like Smeagol killing, I can't remember the guy's name. It's very drawn out, very slow. And also very fast at the same time, but like I think it feels longer than it actually was because it's just like so like brutal between the two of them because they used to be good friends. And you mentioned actually, and I agreed, Smeagol's transformation, he's actually scarier mid-transformation to Gollum than the end product.
Yeah. In the end, he just looks pathetic.
Which I think part of that is if he looked like he did in mid-transformation where it's really creepy and scary, we would feel no sympathy for him. Like, Frodo, feels sympathy for Smeagol, the entire series. And I think if we just saw him mid-transformation, we wouldn't feel the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Sam obviously is always calling him Gollum.
He sees the bad in Gollum, whereas Frodo sees, like, what could have been.
Right, Frodo. Because I think, like we mentioned before in the last one, Frodo's hoping that there's a return from, like, being corrupted by the ring since he's being slowly corrupted. He's hoping there's a return. So, like, if Gollum can't come back, Frodo feels like he'll be lost too. Even though that's not true. Because everyone reacts differently, of course.
Yeah.
I think that was, like, the thing that stood out to me the most. The other thing that stood out to me is, like, people online always criticize Lord of the Rings because, the Return of the King, because... oh my gosh, like, there's so many endings. It ends, like, 10 times. I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but also, like, there's so many characters that, like, had we cut when Aragorn is crowned king, it just wouldn't make sense. Because, like, well, what happens to the rest of the characters?
Yeah, did the hobbits ever go back to the Shire kind of deal?
Yeah. It was a very emotional ending for me. There's very few movies that actually make me emotional, but I was so invested in, like, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, like... that it was a very emotional ending for me. I enjoyed it a lot. It was great. The ending was great. I thought the film was awesome. The entire thing was great. I think the whole thing was great. They did a good job about tying up loose ends and getting us where we need to go. And like the Battle of Minas Tirith was awesome. The battle with the Witch King was really cool. I totally forgot. I think you forgot as well that Gandalf's staff gets destroyed by the Witch King.
Yes.
That was a cool scene, and like Gandalf, one of the very few times in the whole series. It's one of like the few people that like Gandalf actually is scared of. Right? He's scared of the Witch King. He's scared of Sauron, but like no matter what, he's always been willing to put up a fight. Like, he's scared of Saruman, too, to an extent until later in the series, in the second one on. But, like, this is one of the few times we see Gandalf, like, genuinely show fear. Like, with the Balrog, and then when he fought Saruman, this is probably, like, the third time he's shown genuine fear. But, like, every time, no matter what's happened, he's always, like, continued the fight. And even then, he looked like, well, I lost my staff, but, like, I gotta keep trying, you know? Like, despite my fear, you know, so... My thoughts on it were A+. It was great, fantastic, loved every second of it.
Yeah, and then Eowyn comes in and is like, I am no man, and goes pew, to the Witch King.
Yeah, after he says no man can kill him.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the movie overall?
I really enjoyed it. It was my first time seeing the extended version of The Return of the King. I'd seen the other two extended editions for The Fellowship and The Two Towers, but my plans to see The Return of the King extended editions with my friends at college kind of got thwarted by Corona, so...
Okay, so now that we've gone through, like, our favorite parts, like I said, I can't really remember what was extended offhand. I know we looked it up at the time, but, like...
Oh, the whole Sauron and Wormtongue death, that was added.
What do you mean that was added?
That wasn't in the, like, theatrical release.
It wasn't? I'm pretty sure he dies in the theatrical release.
I don't think... Let me look it up. I didn't think that... I thought that was added.
I don't think so, because Saruman totally dies. But it might have been extended, maybe.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Because he does die in the film. That was one of the differences with the books. Because in the books, as we mentioned before, Wormtongue and Saruman go on in the books to take over the Shire, and then Merry and Pippin lead a revolution and take them out. It's quite dark. But in the movie, obviously, Saruman gets executed by Wormtongue, who then gets shot by Legolas. Okay. But yeah, for extended scenes, there were a couple, I just don't remember them offhand. I know there were several scenes that were extended.
It had pretty much like an hour.
I really do think that scene was extended. It felt a lot longer than theatrical release. Because I know he dies in theatrical release, but it felt longer. And then, Merry and Pippin get a whole lot more in this movie to do, I felt like.
Yeah, they seem to have got a lot more attention.
I think that was one thing that the second and third film did a lot better than the first one, which you can argue different ways, but, like, I think the first one was good. Like, the way it was set up was fine. But, like, the second and third one definitely do a better job of, like, balancing all the characters and, like, giving them stuff to do. Which I think partially is just because the first one's, like, you know, trying to, like, set up the Fellowship and all, and, like, now that they're set up, we can kind of send them on their own little journeys and catch up with them and stuff like that, which is really cool. I think this one also did a really good job of balancing the characters, and like I said, the battle at Minas Tirith was awesome. The battle at the gates of Mordor was really, really well done, really cool. Frodo and Sam's whole journey with them breaking up at one point, and then Sam coming back to save Frodo from Gollum and Shelob. Sam's whole fight with Shelob was really cool. And then, you know, of course, them going on to finally push forward and destroy the ring together. And then Gollum catching up with them. It's very entertaining. I did like how they framed the whole Sam and Frodo thing at the end when Frodo won't throw the ring in, like Isildur and Elrond. That was a cool callback and parallel. Yeah, and the whole, like, the final battle there was really, really cool, and how Mordor collapses after the ring is destroyed.
I can't find it. I could have sworn that scene was, like, extended or something.
It might have been extended. It felt longer than the, like, theatrical one.
That's what I meant by added. I was like, there was, like, something added to the scene.
Okay, yeah. Extended, sure. But yeah, let's move on to our favorite characters. Do you want to go first or shall I go first?
You go first.
Okay, so my favorite character has changed per film. This one, I think, I have a character who's just, like, my favorite overall in the entire film was Sam. Because Sam goes through so much in this movie.
Okay.
He hits like his darkest point, and then like comes back to like an even higher high, and like, you know, because Gollum frames Sam for eating all the limbus bread, and then Sam's like, you know, trying to fight back, and Frodo tells him to go away, and then Sam discovers evidence that he was, you know, framed, even though he already knew he was, and like that is what snaps him out of his kind of, I don't want to call it self-pity, because like circumstances being what they were, I mean, I think anyone would react the way Sam did, feeling betrayed that like your best friend isn't believing you when you said something right.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Especially when Gollum is, you know, but like obviously Frodo's under the influence of the ring, so like, you know, there's some middle ground there. But point being, I get where Sam's coming from. But like, yeah, Sam comes back and he kicks Shelob's butt, saves Frodo from the orcs, and helps carry him into Mount Doom at the end of the movie. And then, like, you know, also keeps their spirits up. And then, like, at the end of the movie, like, they celebrate together just as they think they're going to die because Mount Doom's exploding. And then the Eagles come and save them, of course. But, yeah, like, I think Sam's my favorite character just because, like, I kind of neglected him as my favorite character for the first and second film. But, like, really, like, the entire time, he's been, like, the best friend you can imagine. Like, no matter what happens, he's always there picking you back up and helping you carry on.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was actually going to say Sam, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, like you said, he's, like, the best friend. He will, like, come and help you, even though you just, like, yelled at him and told him, like, oh, you're a horrible person for eating all my food, kind of deal, even though he didn't eat all the food. And then he comes and kicks Shelob's butt, so...
Yeah, he did. He, like, phenomenally did well. The only thing I will say is, like, I do feel bad for Sam for kicking himself thinking Frodo was dead. I'm like, you know, like, I don't see how anyone would have known Frodo wasn't dead unless you knew about, like, spider poison.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not sure if that kind of poison is relative only to Shelob. It might be that, you know, I don't know.
But also, how many times do you see huge spiders like that in the Shires? And Sam's never been out of the Shire before, so, like, how is...
That, plus, like... Even if he had realized that, how are you going to carry Frodo and hide him when the orcs are coming, etc.? Like, Sam did the best he could. He kept the ring safe. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. It was very interesting. Like, you know, he helps fight off Gollum at a couple points. Frodo has a fight with Gollum. Gollum can be terrifying.
Yeah.
When they need him to be. It's very interesting to finally see Frodo break away from his vision of Gollum as Smeagol.
Yeah.
And, like, to actually see him for what he is. But by the time Frodo realizes that, of course, it's too late, and then Shelob gets him. And then, of course, Sam and Frodo reconcile. But
yeah, and then at the end, when they think they're gonna die on Mount Doom, after the rain goes into Mount Doom, Frodo and Sam, like, have this, like, really sweet moment that they're, like, there's, it shows, like, how much that they really, like, are, like, good friends.
Yeah, they reminisce about the Shire in their last moments.
Or what they think are their last moments.
Right. And then, of course, Gandalf comes through and saves them.
With the
yeah, I'd say Sam is definitely my favorite character in this film. I think part of it is just, like, this is the film where we realize the most how much Sam has done.
Yeah.
Like, in the first two, like, yeah, it's obvious he's doing stuff, but, like, Frodo's not quite as bad off as this film.
Yeah.
He's not doing great in the second one, but, like, for the most part, he's able to keep going on his own.
Yeah.
Not entirely. And also, to be fair, Sam in the first one was being a little bit clumsy, trying to go after Frodo there, and, like, falling in the water, and Frodo had to save him. So, like, yeah, this was definitely the film for Sam where he shined the most. And, like, yeah, he just went above and beyond. But, yeah, I'd say, like, in terms of, like, extended scenes, like, I honestly can't remember. There probably were some, but like I said, like, they kind of fit so well that you don't even notice them.
I looked it up. The Wormtongue death was extended,
not added. Okay.
Not added. I said added in the sense of,
That's
they added things to the scene, not added the whole scene period.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't remember if in the original theatrical release if Saruman was like, yeah, I'll help you out or not. If my memory serves, and it could be wrong, I think he said no, and then Wormtongue just, like, straight up murders him. And then in the extended edition, and this could be in the theatrical release. Like I said, I don't remember. In the extended edition, Saruman goes on to be like, okay, fine, like Gandalf, like I'll come down, but you have to come alone, and like I'll let you know where your final doom will be, which is supposed to be, you know, a reference to Minas Tirith, which at the time our heroes obviously don't know there's a fight coming there, and then, you know, the other thing, one thing I did not remember was that the Steward of Gondor tries to burn alive his only living son because he's so deluded he thinks he's dead, Faramir. I totally forgot about that. So that was a...
Well, you remember part of it.
I remembered that he died by... The Steward of Gondor, like, lit himself on fire somehow and died.
Yeah. By,
like, falling off the giant ledge in Minas Tirith. But I totally forgot he tried to kill Faramir. That was pretty wild to see, like, you know... yeah, and like... The Steward of Gondor is... I know we didn't do least favorite characters, but I'm gonna do least favorite character, and this is not based on acting. This is just like the character I despise the most in the film. So that would definitely be the Steward. I can't remember his name, but the Steward of Gondor was the guy I disliked the most because he sent his soldiers to their death, and Faramir, his son, his only living son at that point, to his death. By some unbelievably good luck, Faramir did not die.
He almost died, though.
But everybody else died.
Yeah.
And it was like, strategically, this made no sense. Like, there's literally no logic behind his decision.
Well, the logic was like, oh, I want my Faramir to die because my favorite son is dead.
I think it was either that or, like, if by some unbelievable odds you manage to survive this, like, you'll become a favorite son all of a sudden. But, like, you know, the implication was, like, Boromir would never have lost Osgiliath, and you've lost Osgiliath, you're useless. Like, you might as well just die.
Yeah.
In fact, Faramir points that out. He's like, oh, you wish that I was the one that died, not Boromir. And the steward's like, yes.
Yeah.
He actually, like, straight up tells... And Faramir, I mean, I don't know how this guy has so much honor. Like, if that had been me, I would have been like, you know what, why don't you lead the march on Osgiliath then, if that's how you feel? You know, like, no, I'm not doing this for you. This is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was the character I liked the least. And props to the actor for... giving such a good performance that I really hated his guts in the movie, because that's not easy to do either.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that I disliked his character so much is heavily due to the actor doing a good job of coming across like a real jerk.
Yeah, my least favorite character... I didn't really have a least favorite character. I had a bunch of characters that I hated.
Mm-hmm.
The Steward of Gondor. I hated Gollum. Gollum, I'm just like, bro.
Gollum's mind is completely deteriorated. All I can think about is the ring.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't despise him, because of the fact that, like, it's not actually his fault. Like, he's been corrupted by this thing so badly, there is nothing left of Smeagol in his head almost.
But the Steward of Gondor is, like, early corrupted, too, by his, like, own, like, self...
Yeah, but the steward's, like, narcissistic and, like, high on power. He doesn't want to let a king come back, right?
Fair.
So it's his own self-delusions. It's not an external thing. You could argue to an extent power is corrupting him, but I'm like, yeah, but, like, at any point he could go, like, you know, like George Washington and be like, hey, no, I'm going to step down. I'm going to go back to my old life. Like, I'm going to, you know, like, there is precedent for a lot of people in history. Very rare, but there are precedents where people have been like, hey, you know what? I took this place over, but I'm going to give it back to you because that's the right thing to do. I was just trying to stop some bad stuff. Yeah. And I'm going to step down. Whereas the steward was like, no, I don't want a king coming back. There'll never be a king back. Like, this is mine now. Mine. You know. Oh, funny thing. One of the funnier scenes to me is later when Aragorn and them are all in Minas Tirith. And at this point, Aragorn is the king of Gondor again. Gimli is sitting in the steward's seat. Which was just humorous to me, because I'm like, technically I believe Gimli would be he would be like a prince, a dwarven prince or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, that was just funny to me, because I'm like, also, I gotta give props to Gimli. I think it was in the Two Towers, I might have mentioned it there, where he, like, kicks the crap out of Wormtongue. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That wasn't the 2 towers, yeah.
I believe you mentioned that.
Okay, good. I just want to throw that in there because I gotta give something to Gimli because Gimli's awesome. But yeah, Gimli was very funny in this film too, and so was Legolas. And yeah, the undead soldiers was a cool thing. Aragorn, of course, being the honorable king that he is, releases them of their oath and lets them rest in peace finally, which is nice. Yeah, it's an interesting story because, like, Lord of the Rings is not only about, like, you know, corruption because of the ring, but, like, there's also corruption of, like, just power corrupting people in general, like the Steward of Gondor. And, like, the entire story is about them going around and, like, basically stomping out corruption all over the planet.
Yeah.
And also beating an existential ending force.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it was a very satisfying conclusion. Of course, Sam, I think, deserves to be crowned my favorite character of the film. My favorite character across the trilogies is much harder because originally I was going to do that, and I don't think I can now because I think it really varies by film.
Yeah.
I don't think I could pick one across the trilogy because they each shine at different points in each film, and like, I think in each film, certain characters shine more than others.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Gandalf because without him, this whole series wouldn't have happened.
True. That was actually the point of Gandalf and the other wizards showing up, though.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah. That's why he's such an integral character because without them, it's game over for the good guys.
Yep.
But yeah, okay, I can see that being your choice. I just don't think I can make a choice because I'm just like, everyone has so many different points in different movies that where they shine. Like, I don't know if I can pick like a favorite, you know. But I see where you're coming from. If I had to, I'd say probably Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Yeah, because Bilbo's, you know, his whole story in The Hobbit kind of jumpstarts this one. That's with fair. Frodo wanting to go on adventures. And also because Bilbo's a historian. He writes down the story. Whether or not he's taking liberties with certain parts, I'm not sure.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, most likely. But at least we're getting a written record of some things that happened.
Yes.
And that also inspires Frodo to later write about his experiences during the War of the Rings.
Yes.
So that's why if I really was forced to choose someone, I think I'd choose Bilbo because he's a historian and he gives Frodo the idea to continue the historical record.
Bilbo's a good choice too.
Yeah.
Bilbo would probably have been sounded right.
And also, I thought in the films it was a very good little detail that they could have forgotten about, but they didn't, was that like the next time we saw Bilbo in this movie at the end, he looks really, really, really old.
Yeah.
Because of course the ring was, like we said before, the ring was holding off his aging, and so like he's really feeling the full weight of old age at this point by the end of the film, and I think that was a really cool and unique. It was very nice of them to keep that detail running and like to show it, you know, because they could have very much probably gotten away without showing him aging even more. It wouldn't have been accurate, but like I'm glad that they were willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah.
And another reason, you know, is like even at the end of his life when they're going off to Elven lands, he's like, "Hey, this is another adventure for me. This is great." So that's like another reason I love Bilbo is like he never really lost the spark of like adventure and like joy in life.
Yes.
And like after the ring's gone, he's been able to find new joy in life.
Yeah.
And like looking at this as another grand adventure, which is really cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I gotta say.
That's all I got too.
All right, you want to wrap it up?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, we appreciate listening. We look forward to having you listen next time. We have an email. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever.
All right, thank you for listening.
Have a great day.